Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Grant's Rants, Hollywood Talk.
I'm ready to share my thoughts on Beverly Hills Housewives. LVP closes Villa Blanca. Networks reward reality stars for good behavior. I've got the latest on hashtag Free Britney, cancel culture, and Gwyneth Paltrow's latest gimmick. That and more with Jacques Peterson now. Let the ranting begin. You're just joined by me for this very quick moment. I want to point out that the show, it's our 160th episode. I want to point out that it's going to be in two parts. And there's a whole reason behind this. You know, you can trust me. I know what I'm doing, or at least we're about to find out. I've split the show in half. It's the same exact show. It's just in two places. Short form content is king right now. And by me breaking this up in half, I can list in the title exactly what you can expect from each episode. So this way, if you're not interested in hearing me talk about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but you want to hear me talk about Free Britney, you know exactly where to find it. So this is for you to be able to really narrow down and find exactly what it is you want. And if you would love to listen to both parts, I love you for it. So the thing is, on most platforms like Stitcher and Apple Podcasts, part one will then lead right into part two. If you're listening on YouTube or another platform like Spreaker, you're going to have to go to part two. But I mean, it's the same way you found part one. So it's not that difficult. I love you guys for listening. Thank you for being with me on this journey. And let's get started with Jacques Peterson on episode 160. Let the ranting begin. I am joined by Jacques Peterson from episode 123. It's been more than a minute that he's been on the podcast. He's an entertainment journalist and writes at different outlets like the Daily Mail, which we refer to quite a bit on this podcast. Welcome back to Grant's Rants.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Good to hear from you. You're calling in from far, far away from West Hollywood.
Yep, from Sydney, Australia.
So let's get started because I have not spoken about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at all this season. I swore up and down that I would not be watching, and then the world ended, and I decided that I might as well. And so I've been painfully watching this season. I am fully caught up as of now. I'm ready to debate because I am not enjoying it. To me, it's totally disjointed.
Well, we have something in common. We're both united in our hate for Lisa Vanderpump. Okay, I think we're openly the two biggest Lisa Vanderpump haters out there. I always said for years that Real Housewives of Beverly Hills would be amazing once they got rid of Lisa Vanderpump. They got rid of her last season. The second half of last season was awesome. Actually, I loved all of last season. I love this season. I love the energy. I love the whole thing. I think it's great. I do have one problem with it. I think, which it's probably not even specific to Beverly Hills. I think it's almost all of the franchises. But you can really see how they're playing to the formula of Housewives. Like they find an issue and it's like, well, that really bothered me, and it's something really small, and they blow it up, and it's the whole formula. We can see it. That's kind of annoying, but I kind of think that's like a problem across all the Housewives. I wouldn't say it's specific to Beverly Hills.
Well, I think it's a major issue on this show because we're looking at, like, we're comparing this to New York Housewives in this segment, and looking at New York, they have a lot of arguments, but they all end pretty quick. It's more than just one thing. I will say they cycle through the stories a lot quicker over there. I think that's the difference. The pace of the arguments, the immediate makeups, it's not so predictable. Where, I mean, I'm watching this Beverly Hills, and I'm just like, this is garbage. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I disagree respectfully. I just think it's absolutely horrible. I'm totally Team Denise on all of this. I think the other women all tie for last, except for Dorit, who I can somehow stand. How come I can stand Dorit?
Look, I don't know. I think it's funny. I like the passive aggressiveness. I like how it's kind of, you're getting into the minutiae of like a really little issue, and I can actually see everyone's side, this is making the season really interesting to me because there's certain points where I'm like, okay, I'm totally on Kyle's side right now. And then I'm like, oh, actually I agree with Denise, and I can see their different perspectives. And that's really interesting to me. Like over on New York, they're getting drunk to the level of like beyond Jersey Shore and just screaming at each other. Yeah. And it's just a mess. I feel like there's more with Beverly Hills there's more to kind of dissect and get in there. And then, of course, you've got all the glamour. And I think the casting's really good. I love Sutton, the new housewife. Garcelle is a complete dud. That's a whole nother thing. She's barely even showing up for filming.
Yeah, she should be a friend of. She should be a friend of, because they knew her schedule before all this. They knew that she wasn't going to be able to participate. Now, Sutton is showing up at every event. Whether they want her there or not, she is at every single event. So, like, yeah, lazy production. I still hate the show. I can't stand any of the women. I think Denise makes a really good point when she's like, what is there left to talk about? Like, I'm done talking about this. And they even said in the most recent episode, well, that's not how we work. And it's like, basically, that's like how the show works, is what I feel like is the subtext.
I agree. And I do think that is kind of a problem. And that's what I mean when I'm like, we can kind of like, we peek behind the curtain, we can see it too much. We can see that they're playing games. But at the same time, Denise, I mean, the women's problem with Denise as well, though, is they feel like she kind of did that to them, because they feel like she made an issue out of something to throw them under the bus, whereas Denise feels like they made an issue out of something to throw her under the bus. And they both kind of think that. And it's weird. I mean, I'm really excited for this Brandy Glanville stuff to play out. That's been really fun to keep up with in the tabloids. I mean, that's been all over Daily Mail and everywhere else. So I think that's going to be juicy.
I love seeing the familiar faces. I love seeing Eileen. It was nice to see Kim back this week. I'm looking forward to seeing Brandy. I think it will re-energize the second half of this season. I don't know what else to get out of this show. I don't know what my expectations are. I watch this show and I wait for every commercial break, knowing that it'll be almost closer to the end. I mean, I can't unenjoy a show any less. I mean, anymore. I just think it's like,
I think you have PTSD from Lisa Vanderpump, because the show really picked up last season. I agree. It was like, for a couple of seasons, it was probably the worst thing on television, but I really felt like that Lisa's downfall last season was riveting. And then the rest of the season was just super fun. And you had Camille coming in and being just like messy and drama, and you get the glamour. And I feel like the women actually are friends. I do feel like they are friends. I think it's more authentic. I don't think they felt comfortable being friends with Lisa Vanderpump around, because she's so manipulative. But I don't know. I think it's got a really good energy. I think it's totally on the right track. And I do think it's re-energized. I think the biggest mistake really is just having Garcelle around, but I hope that next year she can commit more, because I think she has potential. Like, she's glamorous, she's fun, she's got good confessionals, but even Garcelle, you know, when I watch some of her scenes, I also do feel like she's acting how she thinks you're supposed to act on a reality show, as opposed to being herself all the time, which, again, that's a problem, I think, across all these Housewives shows. I mean, it's kind of why most of us aren't as invested in them anymore as we used to be like 5 years ago. And that's across the board. You talk to any Housewives fan and everyone kind of agrees, like, you know, we're still watching it out of habit, but, you know, this is not as good as it once was at all.
No. Here's the thing. I'll give them some credit in the spirit of trying to be fair here, despite my extreme bias. But that's Grant's Rants. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here to lie. But I will say that they've pushed a little bit more story. We finally got some like questions asked to Dorit and PK about their finances, which I give them some credit for. They finally only took them 4 years to figure it out. You know, to at least broach the subject with them.
I think they really took a lot of the criticism this season, because not only did you have Dorit and PK addressing their financial issues, which people have been complaining about on Twitter for years, but we've also got Erica showing a more vulnerable side in some scenes and getting a little bit more involved. She's confronting Aaron when before she really kept it all to her confessionals. So I think they've actually listened to the fans, and they're trying to give the fans what they want. And I think Lisa Rinna she's always messy. She's always stirring the pot. She's just going overtime this season. I think she feels the pressure of Lisa Vanderpump not being around, and she wants things to happen. So I feel like they're all trying. I think they're giving it all, and I think they're giving us a good season.
From a production standpoint, from a story producer standpoint, I feel like they are pushing the cast. You're right when you talk about Erica, where it's like we're actually seeing the interior of her home that we haven't seen since her first season. You know, we've got a couple Tom sightings. Like, you know, it's actually, imagine a show about her life. You know, a little bit more. So I am giving them a little bit of credit, but as far as investing in these women and being interested and being impressed, You got the wrong one with me. I'm not impressed by any of them. I'm not snowed by any sort of fake glam. I'm very unimpressed.
All right. Well, baby steps. I mean, you've like conceded a little bit, so I'm hopeful that maybe in 3 more seasons you'll admit that Beverly Hills is good again.
I am an equal opportunity hater. Okay, so like I'll give you credit where it's good, and I'll rip it down when it isn't. And I mean, this is just not my kind of show. But I am interested in seeing the familiar faces that we talked about. Now, we all predicted that Villa Blanca would close with the excuse of the coronavirus because there's been a lot going around this show. There's been a lot going on around this restaurant for a long time, a lot of word. And so I put out on Instagram, I shared it, that there was a sexual misconduct lawsuit that they ultimately lost. And within that, they way backed off how much they ran that business and that it wasn't profitable. And I don't know what the story is, but the bottom line is I figured as much. The minute they could find an excuse to close that, they would.
Yeah, of course. And, there's been rumors that Lisa and Ken's wealth isn't all that it seems for years. I mean, didn't Brandy try and out this years ago on the show and people were... And even Camille, remember that famous Camille scene where she went, "You don't own Sir." Like, there've been all these little hints that Lisa's not the businesswoman that she's portrayed herself to be. And now I kind of feel like it's like the house of cards is like falling down. I mean, I sent you that article... I think it was the Daily Mail one from like 2014, and it was, I think this might have been in the sexual misconduct lawsuit, or maybe it was in a different lawsuit. I know that Lisa's restaurants are freaking neck deep in lawsuits, but she was admitting in like a deposition that she doesn't even know the business side of things. Mm-hmm. Like she doesn't even know how to run business stuff. So I don't know. It's all coming down. I'd love to see it.
I think maybe she's an investor. She comes in, she invests in these, she puts her name on them. They're part of the brand. Then she promotes them by being on reality TV. Yeah, I think she's like very involved with that. But I mean, as far as like day-to-day stuff, I don't think anyone expects her to be involved. But business stuff. Now, the husband, Ken, that loser, he should be a little bit more involved in what's going on, especially if they're going to be having all these lawsuits. I don't know. I mean, the two of them, I can't stand. I don't know which one I can't stand more. But anyway, that's it for Villa Blanca. Not surprised. Now, she claims she's looking for a new location for it. And she blamed the closing on the rent, that they couldn't keep, they didn't want to pay that high rent, and that the landlord wouldn't negotiate. So instantly villainizing the landlord, which, of course, it's never her fault. Never, no.
Well, she always does this. It's always someone else's problem.
Always. And you know what? Honestly, Lisa, if the restaurant was that successful and it was that big of a deal to you, rent would not have been an option, and it would have not been a problem,
They're just tourist spots. I mean, it's like, people come travel and they've seen it on the show, so they want to go there and get a photo. That's it. I mean, my housemate's been there. He went to California, and him and the other gays went and stopped at at freaking Villa Blanca or something for like a rosé. Like, that's all it is. Right. And you can't run like a successful restaurant chain on just being like a tourist spot. Eventually, something's going to happen and it's going to fall to pieces. And I just think they're both crooks. I think it's coming out. It's no surprise that Lisa Vanderpump and Ken were like best friends with PK, another grifter. So come on, It's all coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. PK isn't exactly a stand-up businessman. At least that's not how he's been presented. So, you're definitely judged by the company you keep. They go way back, as we learned in the London days, and there's been a lot around that. And I'm just going to say that Cedric from season 1, who lived with Lisa, is the original whistleblower.
He is. There's a few original whistleblowers. There's him, and then there's also Taylor was one of the first people
Adrian
in that scene. Yeah, Adrian as well. These people, there have been so many over the years. People think that it started with Brandy Glanville. It's like, no, it's been like 20 whistleblowers or something on the show over the years. It's taken so long, but I'm enjoying watching her empire crumble, and I predict more.
I have no idea what to say. I don't like to see people fail, but there's a lot that's been said about her over the years, and it comes out. So we're going to find out, just the thing is, like, I have no idea what else to say. I'm so disinterested in her and the restaurants. I have no interest in continuing to follow the story, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, completely. Like, I'm telling you, I think, when you like are patient and you'll do it and you'll follow through. And like, this is how I feel about Beverly Hills. Like, all right, we've talked about it. It's been almost 15 minutes. Like, I'm good. I can't go there anymore. Please. Let's talk about this. On page 6, they say now that networks are offering reality TV stars, quote, good behavior bonuses. What the hell is this? I have such a problem with this. Did you hear about this?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this. I mean, I don't know. They have bonuses tied in for all kinds of things, though, don't they? Like ratings bonuses and everything. I get it. I don't know. I think they're in a conundrum, this whole thing where they're canceling all these reality stars, because the thing is that what makes a good reality star is usually a problematic person.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the truth of it. So I think people kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. It's like they want people to be perfect, but then they want like messy, dramatic, like horrible reality TV to watch. And it's like, I don't think you can have both. So I don't know. I think we're in a weird spot right now with all of this.
Yeah, it's like they want bad behavior, but not too bad. We want to find people that are controversial and you're going to be outspoken, but not too outspoken. I just don't think anyone needs to be rewarded for that. If the person is that, or the cast is, if they're that on the line, then they shouldn't be cast to begin with. I don't see the need for it. I'm not about bonuses. I don't look to reality contestants as the moral authority. If they are lousy people, cancel them and get rid of them then. I don't know why they need to be incentivized. I think there's enough people out there. There's enough talent. I don't know why they need to continue to, line the checkbooks of these people who are lousy and then just hope that they don't put anything out on Instagram that's bad. I'm not about it.
Yeah, but then the thing is, right, you say if they're lousy people, like, don't hire them or cancel them, then we don't have anything to watch. Like, then there's no reality TV.
Well,
reality TV.
I think
so what do we do?
I think you can be a lousy person and not be a racist or a misogynist or a white supremacist. I think there are different types of people that you can bring in.
Okay, but I think of it like this, right? So people will love watching Dorinda get blackout, like alcoholic drunk, and scream abuse in someone's face. They'll love watching someone try and destroy someone else's marriage on the Housewives or ruin their business, all of this stuff. But then it's like, we're canceling you for like a problematic tweet for like 10 years ago. I mean, I don't think you can. That's why I sort of don't engage in a lot of the cancel culture stuff, because I just feel like, okay, if we're canceling you for this, then where does it end? Because I don't know. I think there's so much problematic behavior, and then I think, okay, so how do we decide what's cancelable and what's not? Because there's so much abhorrent behavior on these reality shows.
True. And we're going to talk about cancel culture in the second part of this episode even more. But not we're not talking about Matt Lauer type, big heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we're talking about light stuff, but yeah. I mean, I'll be happy to talk more about that and that portion. I don't know. I just feel like, bonuses are unnecessary. Now, what I do agree with is that different networks, like the MTV networks, have hired a firm to root out offensive posts from talent. And what's the word I have here? They're just going back on social media. And I think it's good. It's good crisis management, getting ahead of things. I think this is what most people have been asking for anyway. A lot of these things have been out there for a while and they're discovering it now. So that I can understand. I don't know if people need to be paid because they're on good behavior. That's too much.
So with this private investigation, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think if, say, MTV, they're doing their new Alabama Shore, whatever, cast, and they find problematic tweets or Instagram posts from one of the cast members, should they tell them, okay, delete all of this, clean this up so it's not there, and then we're filming? Or do you think it means, we found an old tweet or whatever, you're just fired straight away before we even do the show with you? I
think in the past it would have been, we'll do the show, just delete it. And then now I don't think you can get away with anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know what I would do. Thank God I'm not in that position. But I can't imagine these networks are going to allow it because there's too many eyes on this stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm just so glad I don't have to make that decision, you know? But when we come back in part 2, we're going to be talking about the latest with Free Britney. There's so much I want to say here. I want to update you all because, strange things are happening again. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, just high-level stuff. Cancel culture, has it really gone too far? I mean, I think it affects all of us, right? I mean, everyone that has an opinion or a comment or a tweet, it pisses somebody off on the other end, and just to what extent does that go? So that and more in part 2 with Jacques Peterson. Now this.